So show of hands, how many of you are vegetarian? All right, hands down. So, okay, some so-sos. How many of you maybe eat no meat or limited amounts of meat? So maybe not quite a vegetarian, but somewhere in the limited meat category, okay. How many of you are gluten-free? Okay, or dairy-free, or egg-free, or nut-free? Okay. How many of you eat only organic products, or organic produce, perhaps? Or only eat sustainably produced foods? How many of you only eat ethically produced foods? All right. Or try to eat only locally grown foods. Or maybe just not only locally grown foods, but maybe try to eat locally grown foods. Show of hands. There's so much great produce in this area, right? How many of you maybe follow some aspect of Jewish dietary laws? All right. Good number of hands. So this is to say that many of us already put a good deal of thought into the food choices that we make. For some of us, it's about avoiding allergens. For others, it is about trying to eat healthy or balanced meals. For some, it is an opportunity to put our ethics and values into actions. Although eating might seem like a relatively mundane, primal act, the fact that it is something that we do so often and that we rely on the food we eat to sustain us, it is possible that through paying closer attention, we can actually elevate eating to an opportunity to encounter holiness in our lives each and every day. These considerations about what and how we should eat are complex and sometimes contradictory, and there are myriad ideological, economical, aesthetic, health-related, and other issues that go into these decisions. We Jews call this system of being attentive to what we eat kashrut, from the word kasher, meaning fitting or acceptable. In his book, Instructions to the Cook, a Zen Master's Lessons in Living a Life That Matters, Bernard Glassman writes the following. Because we eat 2, 3, or 4 times every day, it's easy to forget how wondrous that is. It's like the sunrise or the sunset. The sun rises and sets every day. If it's an especially beautiful sunrise, we may notice it. But if it's not special, we may not even see it. But if we can see it as if for the first time, each sunrise becomes very special and very beautiful. And so with each meal we create. By paying closer attention to the food choices we make, and perhaps the people with whom we eat as well, we can transform eating into a holy act. Every time we eat, Jewish tradition teaches us that there are multiple opportunities to infuse our meals with a sense of gratitude. We can pause to say a blessing to offer thanks before a meal, or even a snack. And after a meal, we can reflect on our good fortune to be able to eat and find satisfaction. In the Birkat HaMazon, the prayer of thanksgiving after meals, which literally means blessing of sustenance, we recall what is written in Deuteronomy, when you have eaten and are satisfied, give praise to your God who has given you this good earth. Which is followed by the blessing, we praise you, God, for the earth and for its sustenance. Even if we don't say a formal blessing before or after our meals, we can still pause to acknowledge our good fortune and consider where our food has come from, who grew it, who picked it, who prepared it, and how it benefits our bodies. In addition to bringing holiness to our meals, we can also make uniquely Jewish choices when choosing the food that we eat or avoid through exploring the Jewish dietary laws of kashrut. In this week's Torah portion, Shmini, we find the first formulation of the laws of kashrut, focusing mainly on the kinds of land animals, sea creatures, and birds that are permissible and those that are forbidden. This is where we first see rules about the need for land animals to have attached split hooves and to chew their cud, for sea creatures to have fins and scales, and to avoid eating birds of prey like falcons or vultures. At first glance, one might simply see a list of permitted and forbidden animals. But when we look closer, we see some profound ethical statements as well. We avoid eating animals that attack other animals. The land animals we eat are also vegetarians and process their food slowly. What justification does the Torah offer for these laws? Simply, "For I, the Eternal, am your God. You shall sanctify yourselves and be holy, for I am holy." Writing about these dietary laws, modern anthropologist Mary Douglas, in her book Leviticus as Literature, explains that they are an invitation to Israel to join in the divine work of creation by living a life that honors the way God made the world and the covenants God has made with God's people. For the biblical author, the system of kashrut provides us a way to be more human, more humane in our food choices. Rather than simply eating to fulfill a primal need and to fuel our bodies, these laws of what is permitted and forbidden teach us the importance of using restraint, of engaging our intellect in this most basic human function. As Reformed Jews, there is a recognition that not all of these ancient laws speak to us in our modern lives. But we also believe that there is meaning to be derived, even if we do not follow the exact letter of these laws. If we consider the system of kashrut as a practice for becoming more conscious of our food choices, of thinking more carefully about what we eat, how we eat, and where our food comes from, perhaps there are elements of kashrut that we can incorporate into our own practice. We can also pay closer attention to the manner in which our meat, poultry, and seafood was raised. We can buy local fruits and vegetables. We can ask about the treatment of the farm workers or meat packers who are so vital in getting food to us. Some of us may choose to explore some of the more traditional practices of kashrut, maybe not mixing meat and dairy, or avoiding some of those biblically prohibited foods like pork or shellfish. In Reform Judaism, there's no one right way to take up this practice of kashrut. It's about finding what brings meaning and holiness into our lives. In the early 19th century, Rabbi Yehuda Aryeh Leib Alter, also known by the name of his great work, the Sfat Emet, explained that the rules of kashrut are given to enable Israel to live in greater holiness. This was the purpose of our liberation from bondage. We are to be freed from the universal enslavement of soul to body. For the Sfat Emet, it is through paying attention to the manner in which we eat that we can begin to train ourselves to become more in tune with our souls. Through becoming more aware of our food choices, we can elevate even the most mundane acts in our lives, like enjoying perhaps a cup of fair trade, ethically sourced, shade-grown, sustainably produced coffee, to potential moments of holiness. Shabbat Shalom.